Hey crew, let's have a look at the market. So I've got quite a lot on watch today. It's mainly the US dollar. I think there's a bit of strength coming in, so anything paired against it may suffer these coming days. Also, the Aussie dollar looks extremely weak, so most of my pairs and watch list are based on those two, so there may only be one or two setups I'll take, but overall there could be a number of Aussie or US dollar pairs, so just a matter of taking the cleanest setup. If you're more of an aggressive trader, you may take multiple trades against those two currencies, but I generally try to pick the best setup with the best risk reward. So without further ado, let's have a look at the Aussie dollar starting off with. Aussie dollar weekly chart up now. As you can see, what we've got is a nice clean pullback, and the weekly candle that's just closed is a beautiful high test candle, rejecting the weekly 20 EMA, the 0.618 fib on this last little pullback, but also the 0.38 fib from the previous high up here. So really nice looking setup. RSI oversold, overbought on the weekly as well. So from here, I do anticipate a pullback and possibly even a revisit of these lows. Based on the Aussie dollar as well, it's quite weak, so there's no reason at all why this trend could not continue and we break below the 50 cent mark, even head towards 50 cent. I've got the daily chart up now. We still need to be pretty careful. We haven't actually fully broken down. In fact, let's put this trend line up here. Looks like we've just broken this trend line now, which is good. So we could quite possibly roll over here after a significant pullback. We are trading above the daily 50 EMA, so a bit of caution here. Once we break this level here, we should start accelerating to the downside. 4-hour chart, beautiful channel here, nice and clean and crisp. We've broken that now, so a little pullback to the 4-hour 50 EMA and or this horizontal support here will be a very, very nice entry. So we'll be looking at around 64 cents, 64.5 cents. Stop loss at the previous high, or if we can get in on the lower time frames, we can get a much tighter stop, will give us much better risk reward. So if we take this all the way back to the lows, that's a 5% trade, so huge potential on this one. Just a quick look at the 1 hour. The 1 hour is the chart I usually use my entries for, so I'll be looking to get in around the pivot point and the 1 hour 50 EMA about here. We do have a minor support level here. Even here, actually, I'll just mark this in just for a reference sake. So I've got these levels here we need to break before we can start looking to go all the way back to the previous lows. So we can go tight and just take some profits at these horizontal levels, or we can just trail perhaps the 4-hour 50 EMA and see how far this thing takes us down. So a nice safe stop would be above the previous high, but if we're looking for a day trade, we could possibly go a little bit sharper. In fact, let's put a fib in there. Having a stop loss above the 0.618 or 0.78 fib is a good area. 0.618. We've got horizontal support and resistance there, which would be right on our entry. So a beautiful break and retest at this point will give us a very nice trade. Hopefully we can get an entry on this one. Okay, Kiwi dollar, very much the same. The Kiwi and the Aussie often are heavy correlated. I do like the Aussie dollar trade better because the Aussie also looks a little bit weaker against the New Zealand dollar, but nonetheless, let's have a quick look. Weekly candle, beautiful high test, didn't reject any horizontal levels here or any EMAs. Let's chuck a fib up here on the weekly. We did get a nice rejection of the 0.5 fib, so possibly at the end of the pullback here, we're looking to take this one down as well. Weekly, daily, let's have a look. Daily chart here. Still looking at a third touch on a trend line here, so we need to break below that for a full meltdown. Nonetheless, there's an opportunity for a day trade. Prior to that, 4 hour. Pretty decent horizontal level here, so this could be a support structure here. So just need to be wary of that. So this also isn't quite as clean as the Aussie dollar, so that's another reason why I'm preferring the Aussie dollar trade above the Kiwi. This would be the entry here. So even just a trade back to this horizontal level we just saw on the 4 hour is pretty good risk reward. Still just under 2.5% trade if we get a nice entry. So just keep an eye on that one too. It's a nice little range developing there. So this pullback and entry on this horizontal support and resistance would be our entry. So we just need pullbacks on everything before we enter. Close eye on that one too. I'll just quickly show you guys the Aussie Kiwi and why I prefer, where is it? Okay, this is the Aussie Kiwi here. So the Aussie's broken down this trend line break and retested the EMAs here. So we're looking for more downside with the Aussie against the Kiwi. So if you pair these two against the US dollar, the Aussie is the weaker out of the two. So that's why I prefer the Aussie USD trade. Just a little bit more risk reward and more downside I'm anticipating. Okay, next on the watch list is the Euro Pound. Looking for a long on the Euro Pound. Got the weekly chart up here. Pretty messy and choppy, nothing significant, but it's just a nice deep pullback and support above the weekly 50 MA. It's been quite choppy through there, so it's not overly great dynamic support and resistance, but we do have a little bit here. We're possibly about to exit this choppy area. If we can break back above here, we may develop a break out of the range and continue higher. But what we do have here the last couple of current weeks is a nice inverted hammer followed by a low test, still supporting above the EMAs here. So this could be the end of the pullback. Nice 0.618 fib support structure as well. So on the lower time frames, we just want a little pullback and a day trade up to the next level. Daily's got a little bit better horizontal lines here. Support and resistance all the way back to here, which we've pulled back to now. Support level here. Nice bullish engulfing candle closing above the daily EMAs here. So we're looking for more upside, and the previous high would be our target for the trade. 4 hour chart, nothing significant. It just shows here this horizontal level here, which would be our target for the trade. Just want to pull back, trade up to the next level. Not going to push it too far because this is quite a heavy pullback and consolidation that could easily roll over and continue to the next level. So just looking for a higher low here on the lower time frames just to take it to the next horizontal level. Here's the 1 hour. This would be our entry. Possibly a horizontal level there. Let's pull this down here. Bit of a zone. So that's our entry there. Targeting the previous high. That's just under 2-to-1 risk reward ratio. Pretty good trade. We'll wait for an entry depending on how far it pulls back. We could pull this stop a little bit tighter, give us a little bit better risk reward. We'll see where we go from there. Okay, pound Swiss. This is very much the same trade as the euro pound. The Swiss moves quite similar to the euro, so you can opt to take both trades or just one. Just bearing in mind you've got added exposure if you take both trades. But let's just have a look at the weekly and break it down. Weekly chart, really nice inverted hammer, and then a high test, possibly rejecting a fib. Just short of the 0.5 fib. So that's very much the same as what the euro pound was. Daily. Nice bearish engulfing candle closing below the EMA. So looking for a minor pullback on the lower time frames and then take it to the next horizontal level would be this previous low right here. 4 hour. Not a great deal to see on the 4 hour. Just a pullback here and rejection, confirming a lower high on the 4 hour, and then down we go. 1 hour chart. This is our entry here, and this is what we're looking for. So pull back to the daily pivot, 0.38 fib, and the EMA is a nice rejection of this cluster of horizontal support and resistance, and then we'll look to take it to this low just here. So that's just over 2%. trade as well. Not bad risk reward. Look for the rejection, see how tight we can place our stop. So that's it for the pound Swiss. Okay, Aussie 200. This one looks very weak. Inverted hammer, high test. Did we get a nice fib rejection as well? 0.382 fib rejection, so we've possibly finished our pullback here and can roll over. However, I will not be surprised if this squeezes a little bit higher to this trend line and 0.5 fib. It would also give time for this EMA to come down lower and reject that level, because this weekly trend line here is pretty clean. So just be wary of any shorts at the moment. This just could be a little trap before we squeeze higher. On the daily, double top on the daily. We didn't reject the daily 50 EMA, but a nice double top there, and a bearish, not quite a bearish engulfing, but a significant candle there to the downside. So we're looking to possibly roll over early. I'll just show, not much to see on the 4 hour, so we'll just zoom into the 1 hour and our entry. I'm already in a trade, but looking for a possible re-entry. We had a nice rising wedge here, double top. We've broken down, I got in on the pullback and retested the EMAs. We pulled back to this double top here to make a triple top. Just had my stop in a secure enough position, got pretty close, but we've since broken down again and looking for, it's close to an entry right now, just looking for a lower high here on the lower time frames to confirm an entry, so hopefully a rejection in around this area here. I'm going to wait a little bit longer. It's close to my entry now, but I just want to see on the 1 hour and 4 hour some nice deceleration and slowdown, because this current pullback is being quite heavy. Could easily pull back and continue higher. Also, just need to point out that the Australian rate announcement is tomorrow. I actually think that rates may drop tomorrow, so this will likely cause some bit of volatility in the market. So if we do enter a trade, we want to just be careful of our stops. Look to tighten our stops early if we start getting some momentum to the downside today. That is it for Aussie 200. Okay, S&P 500. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm expecting some strength in the US dollar, so that will possibly cause the equities to roll over. So S&P 500, we've possibly finished our pullback here after that huge big sell-off. Inverted hammer, high test rejection, rejecting the horizontal level and the weekly 50 EMA. So very nice clean area. We haven't got the bearish momentum coming in yet, but that there is a very solid deceleration, and that's what we're looking at. Daily, we need to be cautious of the daily. It could be a trap here. This current candle is not closed yet, so a nice close below the daily 20 EMA and this horizontal level will be significant. So we could be breaking, retest and holding our support still, so just need to be wary that we haven't broken down based on the daily. Not a great deal to see on the 4 hour, so we'll just zoom to the 1 hour. Right, nice clean trend line there. We actually rode the bottom side of the trend line until we finally broke down. And this is what we're looking at. Pullback, rejection around this level, confirming a lower high. We need to just then evaluate where our stop loss is going to be. Stop loss above this previous high would be safe, and this one here. If we move our stop above the overall high, I don't think we're going to get our risk reward to the downside unless we want to play it longer term. But I think just a sneaky little day trade on this one, because this level here is the one that we just saw on the daily as well, and it's significant on the lower time frames. Just need to be cautious that this could hold. Not a huge risk reward trade, 1.7%, but worth taking. Okay, last but not least, US dollar, and this is why I'm anticipating some strength. We've got a nice break and retest and hold above support here and the weekly 20 EMA. So what I'm looking for here is more upside. Looks pretty good on the weekly. Just put a fib in there, see what we rejected. Perfect 0.618 fib on that horizontal level as well. So that's a key support structure and area. A breakdown below this weekly 20 EMA would invalidate this trade. Okay, daily chart. This is the horizontal support level as well. A nice candle there, closing, rejecting, and bullish engulfing coming in. But we still have a little bit of work to do before we get to plenty more upside. We've got a trend line here that we haven't broken, and also the daily 50 MA. Daily 50 MA hasn't been great dynamic support and resistance because it's been a little bit choppy of recent times just on that pullback. But if we can break above that trend line and the daily 50 MA, I think we're off and racing. We've got a 4 hour. That just shows that trend line a little bit better. Nice double bottom there. Beautiful candles there, rejecting the lower support level out of these two. We're just rejecting the 4 hour 50 here and this level here. So we could easily come down for another retest of these lows. So too early to enter this trade just yet. We want to see a nice pullback and rejection on the 1 hour, and then we can look to try and trade through these levels. But we do have a little bit of negative confluence if we want to trade through this. Okay, this is the 1 hour chart here. Alright, so double bottom here, inverse head and shoulder, shoulder here, head, break and retest of this little trend line and support. We've now broken above the 4 hour 50 EMA. So looking for a retest around this level and holding above this horizontal support structure here for our entry, so we can enter on the retest of the pivot or EMA, or even if we come down here and hold above the horizontal level. So just a quick in and out trade, trading back to these highs here. Not going to push it too far because we've got this trend line to deal with as well. So depending on how price behaves at that trend line, we may look to cut that trade short, or at least bulletproof, and see where it ends up. That's it, guys. That's the Forex watch list for today and this week so far. Midweek, hopefully we might get a few more setups develop and occur for us.